Have you ever looked around your life and felt like everyone else seems to have this perfect support system while you don't? Maybe your family isn't emotionally available, your friends are busy, or you're just flying solo. And somehow it feels like this makes dating and building love even harder. Today, I'm going to show you why you don't need a perfect village to find love and how being alone in your journey might actually be your secret advantage. Stay tuned. We're going to dig in. Welcome to the Secret Formula of Femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Monteiro, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole, your host and guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. This topic came from me being in different groups and seeing over and over women, high achieving, beautiful women, talk about feeling inadequate because they don't have a support system. One woman even said she feels like men of value are looking for women who come from a good family. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to feel ashamed of your current situation, things that are outside of your control. We're going to talk about what you can control and how you can become the best version of yourself as you're looking for and attracting healthy love. I remember this exact same story coming up with a woman that I knew when I lived in New York. I'm just going to call her Sarah. And she was, so many women that I meet are beautiful, high achieving. They have so much going on for themselves, but they lack confidence. She was beautiful. She had a thriving career, but she felt very lonely when it came to dating. Her family was very critical of her choices. Her friends were busy. They either were in their own relationships, married, had kids, raising families, and she felt like she was navigating love completely on her own. She would say things like, "How can I trust someone if I don't have my support system behind me?" What I told Sarah and what I want to share with all of you all today is that this is not necessarily a disadvantage. In fact, it can be a unique opportunity to cultivate your own clarity, independence, and magnetic energy. And that can actually be the key to attracting the right kind of partner. And there's actually research to back this up on the fact that social support matters, but it isn't everything. If it's something you can't control it. Some research shows that having a supportive social network can help with emotional regulation, which we always talk about as being very important, and reducing stress in relationships. But the same studies show that personal resilience and self validation are even stronger predictors of relationship satisfaction. So, being able to be resilient, knowing how to validate yourself and big up yourself, so to speak, can be really important. Translation is you don't need a cheering section to attract love. You need inner alignment, inner connection, and inner resilience. The impact of lacking a village, so to speak, is that many high achieving women feel pressure to do it all and rely on themselves and reinforce that ultra independent persona. This can make them feel lonely and isolated. But there's some attachment research that shows that many women learn how to make lemonade out of lemons. In other words, some women who feel solo also develop a strength, which is strong emotional intelligence, being able to set boundaries, and self awareness. These are qualities that actually help improve dating and actually being in a relationship. There's a mindset shift that we really have to engage in. And that is instead of seeing the lack of village as a deficit and woe is me and my love life is doomed, we need to sometimes reframe it as being resilient, having the freedom to choose what you want in a partner without outside influence, and really tapping into your inner knowing and inner emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's really about family by choice. If we weren't born into the support network or village that we dreamed of, we can create one that's right for us. This might be one or two close friends, a coach, even a therapist. Even though that person isn't your friend, they're part of your support network. You need to be able to write down the qualities that you want in your emotional support. So as you are developing this village by choice, you know what you're looking for. You might need someone who celebrates your wins. I know I need that often. Someone who holds space for you without always trying to tell you the right answers or what to do, and someone who's able to challenge you in your growth. I know I have benefited from all three types. I need someone to push me, someone to celebrate me, and I need someone to know when I'm down and I just need space. Also, learning to practice self validation. That's things like daily affirmations. I am enough. This is one of the simplest but most powerful affirmations that you can use. You can also affirm that you are supported because you are choosing a support system. I am worthy of love. One journaling prompt that I absolutely love and I put in my own journaling course is, where in my life do I already show up fully for myself? You see, when you're feeling alone, it is so important to reframe your strengths as ways that you're showing up for yourself so that you can then become open to allowing someone to show up for you. It's also important to think about how to redefine relationship success. I know we all like to look at social media. There's couple goals, there's shows. Back when I was watching the Cosby Show, it was the Huxtables. Like, there's always this iconic couple, whether real or fictional, that sometimes gives us an image of what relationships should look like. But sometimes we need to shift the focus from needing to live up to those standards or needing external validation to cultivating more clarity about what we want. So, you really need to work on what is the best partner for you outside of any movie, any TV show, or any social media image. Learn to visualize the partner you want and how you would feel with them. What are the feelings that you want? And this is where you also have to do some of that inner child work because you want to make sure that all of what you're visualizing and what you want isn't just coming from wounds and unmet needs that you didn't get as a little girl, because then you're just looking for someone to meet a need versus someone to grow and share a life with. And you can visualize what this person looks like without having to seek the approval from your family or friends. This is where you get to ask yourself what you want. And that's a great deal of clarity that some people don't get to experience. And then you move to creating micro support systems. This is where you do the work, personal development. And you guys know I am a personal development junkie, but it's not just taking in the information, it's how you apply it. So things like attending workshops and retreats, networking with like minded people, getting in mastermind groups. Some of the most supportive friends that I have now as an adult are people that I met in paid workshops or paid communities because we had a shared goal. And then we found that we had so many other things in common. This is where you start to, this is how you start to build small intentional tribes. I always tell people you got to find your tribe. And these are the people that are going to uplift your dating and personal growth goals. But here's the thing, you have to be so intentional with building your mini tribes. You do not want to be in a community of bad apples who are just negative, who don't have their own relationships, who talk about unrealistic expectations. You do not want to be around women who are constantly criticizing men. Men aren't this, right? They're setting you up for failure because they're making you believe that you're never going to attract more, that you're only going to attract what's at the bottom of the barrel, that you don't have any prospects to be in a healthy relationship because either they're not in one, they haven't seen one, you haven't seen one. So you have to get around people who are maybe sometimes higher than you. The same way they say you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. Sometimes you want to get in rooms with other women who either have healthy relationships, are on that path towards marriage and fulfilling relationships, or who desire to shift and change themselves. Not women who just want to sit around and complain and talk about all of the horrible dates that they've been on. I was talking to someone and they said, we have to believe that relationships aren't working because so many people get on social media and share their experiences. And I said, well, it's kind of like when you think about reviews, product reviews or restaurant reviews. A lot of times, the people who have had a good experience will go ahead and give the 5 stars. But when you see these long narratives, it's usually the disgruntled people. The people that are fine and happy in their relationships, they might, give a shout out, put a nice picture with them and their spouse, but they're not sitting and making long videos complaining or sharing all this information. It's the people who aren't necessarily happy who are doing this. So it creates a confirmation bias where you feel like, okay, what I see online must be the truth. And then everybody starts feeling like they have to share these negative stories or share these negative views. And it's just like a negative feedback loop. So you want to be able to get around real life people who are in a different space, who think differently, who walk differently, who talk differently, maybe than what you're used to. And that is the power of maybe not being confined to an unsupportive family or group of friends. You get to go out and create a family and a network of your choosing. I want to talk about something that we call self efficacy. And there's a connection between self efficacy and relationship satisfaction. Self efficacy is essentially belief in yourself, belief that you can achieve a certain goal or get a certain outcome is connected to what we call an internal locus of control. Essentially, you believe that you're the one who controls what happens to you in life. It's not just outside influences or other things that control you. And so there's some research around how women with a high level of self efficacy are able to, number one, have stronger personal boundaries. They're clear about what they want. And they also report greater satisfaction in their relationships, even in situations where their external support system was minimal, like it wasn't what they had wished it would be. And so that speaks to the fact that once a woman is in tune with her own goals, her own qualities, her strengths, as well as things that she needs to work on, then she's able to show up in a relationship in a healthier way. And she's probably able to have healthy boundaries that aren't walls. I always talk about how boundaries are not walls. You need boundaries so that people understand how to treat you, but you don't want to have up walls or build barriers where no one can get in, where you can't be vulnerable. So, high self efficacy seems to allow that balance where you're open enough, but you also have enough boundaries, especially in the beginning when you're getting to know someone. And then gradually, you let them down little by little, but you still have a standard in terms of how you expect to be treated. But also, you're not looking for all of your happiness in another person. This is just a side note. From working with so many couples, one of the things I see a lot is that each partner expects so much from the other in terms of not meeting current needs, but it's almost as if we're looking for our partner to fill the voids and meet all the unmet childhood needs that we have. And that's so much for one person to be able to do. A man cannot go back and fix everything that you didn't have because your father was absent, he was emotionally unavailable, he was abusive. That's too much to put on that person. So sometimes all of the expectations and all of the ultimatums are really about us trying to get those unmet needs met. And it leads to putting unnecessary pressure, but also it leads to us looking for someone else to completely make us happy, to completely heal us. And that's an inside job, as they say. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is that there can be a lot of cultural pressures, especially for women of color, to feel like we have this village, that we have a squad, we have a community. And while that may be the standard, that's not the case for everyone. So you need to make sure that you're not putting extra pressure on yourself from a cultural perspective. You need to recognize that sometimes you just have to work with what you have and being able to choose your own clarity, your own independence can be a radical act of self improvement and self empowerment on your part. All right, so let's talk a little more and dig into these actionable things that you can do to build your village. You all know I love journaling. I think it is like the gold standard. So I shared that prompt with you. But you also want to think about who is going to actually be in your circle. So as you're journaling, think about who are the 2 to 3 to up to 5 people that you can create as your own village that you can share some of these things with, who can give guidance, who can help you stay accountable, who can give encouragement. It's so funny. Sometimes I talk to women and we talk about accountability, and they're like, well, yeah, I want accountability, but it gets on my nerves when, I asked my husband or I asked my friend or family member, to keep me accountable. Let's say it's a fitness goal. But I'm tired of them just asking me every morning if I exercised, if I did this and that. And it's like, well, that's what accountability is about. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels like, I don't feel like hearing this. But if that weren't the case, it wouldn't be accountability. Accountability does just that. It keeps us accountable to our word, to the standard we held for ourselves, to the goals that we held. So it's really important. And that along with encouragement. So you need both. And these members of your circle don't have to be physically close. Some of the closest members of my network are in completely different cities. There's so much technology. We Zoom, we talk by phone, we use different apps. You can have virtual support networks. And that's one of the most powerful things about the age that we're in. Our networks can actually be global, they don't have boundaries. Now, mentorship is really important. Research shows that mentorship significantly improves emotional resilience. And remember, we said that's a key part of having satisfaction in a relationship. And some of the affirmations that I mentioned, they can be even more powerful when you do them in the mirror. Actually look at yourself physically. That's another exercise. Is getting comfortable. So many of us have shame around certain parts of ourselves physically and so forth. So do that mirror work. Look at yourself and affirm the strengths. Those are ways that you increase not only confidence but self compassion, which is key. And then to the boundaries. So we said that self efficacy helps women to be able to set clear boundaries. So knowing what you want, you've been giving it some thought, right? Because you have to create your own village, knowing what you want in love and being able to communicate it, but not as a demand, not as an ultimatum, not as a like, you take this or leave it. It's just giving clarity and letting the other person know how you want to be treated. It's a form of communication. The other thing I would say is don't be ashamed of your independence. Flip the script. I mean, there's so many women who have been criticized for being ultra independent. And I understand the critique of that. But you can flip that to your advantage, right? You don't want to be extreme, but use your independence as a magnet. Men are naturally drawn to women who are confident, women who are able Men are naturally drawn to women who are confident, self sufficient, and emotionally mature. That's real men, right? We're not talking about little boys and people out here playing. The man you want to attract is attracted to that level of confidence, being emotionally mature, being able to take care of yourself. Now, of course, you need him for his roles, but you also are confident in yours. So don't think of your solo journey as this horrible deficit. It's something that can be positioned as a strength and a magnet for attraction. Now, something that I don't think we talk enough about is how to practice rituals to enhance your femininity and your attraction factor. So, it's the small daily routines that honor yourself, your morning tea, your walks in nature, your skin routine, mindful movement and stretching. Those things help to put you in touch with your body. Even weight training that helps you to feel more comfortable and confident in your body, which helps to enhance your feminine energy. Dressing yourself first, I do that before I even get my kids up or anything like that. I dress myself, I put energy into how I look. Research shows that having a ritualized self care routine does several things. It improves your mood, your confidence, and even your relationship satisfaction. It is 100% true that when you feel good, you look good, and vice versa. When you look good, you feel good. But also, when you feel good, that energy goes into the relationship dynamic and it improves the relationship. And to help support that, I suggest daily emotional check ins. So, yes, journaling is important, but being specific with it. So, instead of just putting down how you feel, ask questions like, where did I feel confident today? Where did I show up for myself? Where did I allow someone to show up for me? This helps to build awareness of your strengths and it helps you to have trust in your internal guidance system. It also helps you to see where you want to work on some things. And this is important because a lot of times without that internal guidance, we get into social comparison. Now, social comparison, part of it is normal. It's part of we're social beings, so we tend to compare ourselves, but you want to really avoid comparing your journey to other people's journeys. They're completely individual, and everybody's journey is different. One social psychologist, Dr. Festinger, he showed how upward social comparison. So we usually don't compare down, right? Unless we're just really looking for an ego boost. We look up, we do upward social comparisons. And those can really reduce our level of satisfaction. They can make us feel bad about ourselves, feel like we're not doing enough. But his research also showed that when you engage in conscious reflection, like those journaling exercises and gratitude exercises, that kind of offsets or mitigates that reduction in satisfaction. So you're comparing yourself upwards, you don't feel good, it reduces your satisfaction. But then when you do those positive things to increase self compassion, express gratitude, that helps you to feel better and it reduces those negative feelings that come with comparing yourself. Okay, so we are going to get to one of my favorite parts, which is the Q&A. So one person said, "Isn't having family support important for the long-term relationship success?" Well, I would say yes and no. If you have it, it is great, but not necessarily. Not everyone comes from that. What's more important is having emotional stability, self worth, and clear boundaries. And those are things that you can work on even without family support. These qualities, that stability, that self worth, that sense of self respect, these attract aligned partners more than external validation or what your family looks like on the outside. Question number two is, how do I stay motivated when friends or family aren't supportive of my dating life? You really have to learn to build internal motivation first, like that internal locus of control that I talked about. You need to remind yourself why you're doing this. This is for you. You have to use some of those tools that we talked about earlier, the micro communities, the support systems that might be virtual, mentorship, getting around or in the room, even if it's a virtual room, with women who are in the place that you are striving to be in. And you also have to learn to celebrate wins along the way. Sometimes we don't want to celebrate until, for example, if we're losing weight, it's not until we lose the whole 100 pounds. No, you need to celebrate each 5 pounds, each 10 pounds, each level of consistency that you reached. That's really important. All right, question number three is, won't men be intimidated by a woman who's independent and without a village? All right, so let's break this down. True independence is magnetic, not intimidating. It's that hyper ultra independence where you have up barriers and walls. That's what pushes people away. Partners who feel insecure by your confidence are likely not aligned. You just need to be in tune to ask yourself, are you confident or are you using that as a defense mechanism? That's what pushes people away. But if you're truly naturally confident in yourself, secure in yourself, willing to engage with a man, then no, that is not going to push the right kind of man away. So the last question is, how do I attract love without falling into isolation? The number one thing I would say is, don't be isolated. Engage in communities of interest, professional groups, hobby based networks. Get out, live your life. Stop waiting for something in order to start living your life. You can start to be a part of small, intentional social circles, and those can be enough to create the connection that you're looking for. And as I said in a previous episode about finding love by being yourself, it's usually when you least expect it. So you're doing the work on yourself, but you're also getting out there and living life. That is what is going to show that you're open to love and attract the right kind of person. And if you have a great supportive family village, that's great. But if you don't, realize that that's not a deficit, it's your superpower. It's your ability to get clear about what you want and find and attract what you're aligned with. Remember, you do not need a village to attract love. You need clarity, self worth, emotional resilience, and a few intentional connections to help support your growth. If you are ready to deepen your understanding of love, relationships, and feminine energy, make sure you grab my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint, for women who are finally ready to win at love. Or if you want to go even deeper, join the Boundaries to Bliss Society, my inner circle community for women who are ready to tap into their feminine energy, experience fulfilling relationships, and have healthy boundaries. Let's build your love life and your inner village together. Thank you so much for joining today. And if you know a woman who needs to hear this message, who is feeling down and out, who feels like she can't find love because she doesn't have a village, make sure you share this with her. Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and leave us a review or a comment. Let us know how you're building your village. I'll see you in the next episode. I'm Dr. Nicole.